this edition of the CEO Tour. And we're really, really fortunate to have Sue here with us today. And she gave us a really good lesson on sort of a little brief history on Iyengar Yoga. So tell me about sort of what differentiates this particular style from some of the other yoga styles.
Iyengar Yoga is characterized by a couple of important things. The first is its philosophical roots, which are directly intertwined into how we teach, come out of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So it's very sourced in the original incarnation of what yoga was about, which is the path of self-awareness and the path of enlightenment. So the asana practice is couched in the 8 limbs of yoga. So Iyengar Yoga is an 8-limbed yoga, an Ashtanga yoga. And the asana practice, that's the 3rd limb, is really where we do the classes in asana, but we also teach the pranayama classes as well. Iyengar Yoga has been developed to use therapeutically in order to work with and cure or help heal all kinds of conditions, from physical and physiological conditions to mental and emotional conditions, to work on the immune system, brain trauma, as well as your typical aches and pains in neck, shoulder, and back. So there's a whole training and approach in this particular form that helps people with serious conditions to get better with yoga.
That's awesome. And I know for me, one of the most rewarding things about doing the CEO Tour and everything is really learning about your stories. And I'm sure you have an amazing story as far as how you your journey in yoga and what got you there and what got you from trying out yoga to then opening up a studio of your own.
Well, it was kind of an interesting story. The short version is, at the time, my husband and I were living on a sailboat, and we had been sailing quite a bit, and we came into Stuart, Florida, and we both noticed, I mean, this is a very non-spiritual way to get into yoga, but we both noticed that we'd gotten a little round, if you know what I mean. And he had the brilliant idea, oh, let's do yoga. You can do it on a boat. And so this is way back in the day. This was 1987. That's when I started. And we went to a phone booth and we looked up in the yellow pages for a yoga studio. And we found one in Stuart. And so he called up, and this woman with this beautiful voice answered the phone, and she said, well, you finally got here. Class starts at 7:30. I'll see you tomorrow. And she hangs up.
Wow.
And we're like, how does she know who we are and why we're here? And so we go the next day, and we started doing these chants about, like, I am a spiritual being. I'm filled with light and love. And then we started doing these poses, and something in me just went, I need to do this. I don't know what it was, but it was just, I need to do this. And so every time we pulled into a port, I would just go in the yellow pages, find a studio, get to the studio, and start learning and practicing. And that's where I started. When we came back from the Bahamas, so that was, I think, 1989, we were on the west coast of Florida, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking for studios, and I find this Iyengar studio, and I didn't know what Iyengar Yoga was either. And so I'm in the class. There's a class of, I don't know, maybe 25 people. We're in Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And the teacher walks by and goes, oh, you have scoliosis. I mean, she didn't say it loudly, but she said it to me. And I said, what? First, I didn't know what that was. And second, I said, this was a more important question. So I went to her, asked her, I said, how do you know that? And she said, we're trained to see. And I said, I want to do that kind of yoga. And in 2017, this space opened up and it was perfect. And so I said, okay. And so here we are.
Wow. That's an amazing story. See, I love it. I know that, the last year and a half and going on almost 2 years now have been just super challenging and devastating for many businesses, especially in our business, in our industry. Tell me about,
Yes.
how that was for you and what sort of things you did to get you through that really challenging time?
I don't know, really fortunate. As a professor, I've been on online teaching since 2003. So the online environment I've used other interfaces before. So that was really familiar to me. And Wellness Living was great. I felt like we were learning how to do this together. You guys had some bumps, we had some bumps, but we managed to get through that. If you saw in my little movie of the studio, I have a big TV screen up on the studio. So I would teach from here and I would see everybody on the screen. Real benefit of it is everyone's practice improved because they were practicing more and they had all their stuff at home. So now they had a place to practice at home. It's been great because you as a company have really grown with that as well. So I really want to acknowledge your company for really stepping up to the challenge that we faced as studio owners, because we couldn't have done this without your back end support and getting more access to the tech support, by phone or by email. I really acknowledge you all for stepping up to the plate on that. It's made my life it's made all this possible. So big thank you, big shout out to you and your tech support and all your people out there. So for a great job.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I personally appreciate it. I have to say a big thanks to you because, without yourself and customers like you, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, and just going back to the software, I know one of the fears that many business owners have out there is actually, if they're unhappy with their current software provider, how difficult is it to switch over to Wellness Living?
Again, I've been online teaching for a long time. I use a computer. I'm really savvy with applications. And so I was using a competitor's product. And I think it was the 2018 Iyengar Yoga Convention in Dallas. And y'all had a booth there.
Oh.
And one of our big centers there in Texas was using it. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And I went over and talked to the representatives and looked at the software, and you were offering like a show price, that kind of thing. So the price was very, very, very competitive. And I said, let's do it. And so, again, there were bumps in the road in terms of getting me up on your technology. It was like learning a whole new thing. And then getting the students, they were like, we finally learned this old system and now you're switching us. Yes, I'm switching you. Yes, we get to learn a new thing, but I'll help you out. We've managed, even with the technology, to keep the human connection in that as well. It was a bit messy. I wasn't able to do things that I thought I could do, and I was doing things right, but the tech support was great. They were helpful. Sometimes in the beginning, remember your tech support it was like till 10 o'clock at night. And sometimes I don't even get on the phone until 10 o'clock at night. So in the beginning, your tech support wasn't quite as accessible, but you made that huge shift into making tech support really accessible. That made a huge difference. Mm-hmm. So just being able to, and then all of your FAQs and the little videos. So that's been really helpful too.
The biggest thing with that is that we care, we truly care about you and making sure that you're happy and that you have the software that can run your business and grow your business. And tell me what the next 2-3 years hold for Sue and Iyengar Yoga Sarasota.
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know, actually. I just turned 65 this summer. And so, this country makes a big deal out of that, Social Security and Medicare, and now you're old. And I'm thinking, okay, so, but I still love teaching and I love this. I'm so happy to be back in the studio and having people in the studio so that I can see continuing with what we're doing. So, so we've got people from different locations teaching. It would be nice to grow the studio a little bit more because we're an older, we tend to have an older population here. Having younger people here would be wonderful. So those are the kinds of things that I'd like to move forward with, to see the studio grow as well. So that's what I look forward to.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, for taking this time with me today. It's been a wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome.
And for all of you out there who may be in Sarasota and want to take an incredible, absolutely incredible class in Iyengar Yoga, definitely check out Sue. It's Iyengar Yoga Sarasota. Thank you guys again for tuning in on this episode of the CEO Tour. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this video for more amazing content like this. Sue, thanks again, and thanks again, everybody.